টানা 3 ঘন্টা বৈঠক শেষে কাটল না রাশিয়া ইউক্রেন জট। এদিন আলাস্কার অ্যাঙ্করেজে আমেরিকার প্রেসিডেন্ট ডোনাল্ড ট্রাম্প এবং রাশিয়ার প্রেসিডেন্ট ভ্লাদিমির পুতিনের বৈঠক হয়। ভারত সহ পুরো বিশ্বের নজর ছিল এই বৈঠকের উপর। বৈঠকের উদ্দেশ্য ছিল রাশিয়া ইউক্রেন যুদ্ধের অবসান ঘটানোর লক্ষ্যে কাজ করে যাওয়া। ইতিবাচক বৈঠক হয়েছে বলে জানিয়েছেন ট্রাম্প। বৈঠকের শেষে সংবাদ সম্মেলন করেন দুই দেশের নেতা। ইতিবাচক বৈঠক হলেও যুদ্ধবিরতি নিয়ে কোনো চুক্তিতে পৌঁছানো যায়নি। মার্কিন রাষ্ট্রপতি বলেছেন অনেক বিষয়ে একমত হয়েছে, তবে কিছু বিষয়ে কখনোই চুক্তিতে পৌঁছানো যায়নি। মনে করা হচ্ছে দুই দেশের নেতাদের মধ্যে এই বৈঠক শান্তির পথ খুলে দিতে পারে। এই সময় ইউক্রেন রাশিয়া যুদ্ধের অবসান ঘটানো খুবই গুরুত্বপূর্ণ। এই সময় ইউক্রেন রাশিয়া যুদ্ধের অবসান ঘটানো খুবই গুরুত্বপূর্ণ। তবে ট্রাম্পের যে প্ল্যান বি অর্থাৎ পরবর্তী বৈঠকটি হবে কিনা তা এখনো স্পষ্ট নয়। যদিও সংবাদ সম্মেলনের শেষে পুতিন ট্রাম্পকে বলেন পরবর্তী বৈঠকটি মস্কোতে হওয়া উচিত। এর জবাবে সময় চেয়ে নেন ট্রাম্প। পুতিন বলেন প্রেসিডেন্ট ট্রাম্পের সঙ্গে অনেক বিষয়ে আলোচনা হয়েছে। আলাস্কা রাশিয়া আমেরিকার ইতিহাসের সঙ্গে জড়িত। দ্বিতীয় বিশ্বযুদ্ধ আমাদের দুই দেশই একসঙ্গে লড়াই করেছিল। ইউক্রেনের সঙ্গে শান্তি ফেরাতে তার ইচ্ছে এবং আন্তরিক আগ্রহ দেখানোর জন্য ধন্যবাদ। যুদ্ধের অবসান ঘটাতে হলে রাশিয়ার উদ্বেগ বিবেচনা করা প্রয়োজন। আমি ট্রাম্পের সঙ্গে একমত যে ইউক্রেনের নিরাপত্তা নিশ্চিত করতে হবে। আশা করি পারস্পরিক সমঝোতা ইউক্রেনের শান্তি আনবে। কি বলেছেন ভ্লাদিমির পুতিন শুনবো।
President, ladies and gentlemen, our negotiations have been held in a constructive atmosphere of mutual respect. We have very thorough negotiations that were quite useful. I would like to thank once again my American counterpart for the proposal to travel out here to Alaska. It only makes sense that we've met here because our countries, though separated by the oceans, are close neighbors. So when we've met, when I came out of the plane and I've said, "Good afternoon, dear neighbor. Very good to see you. In good health and to see you alive." I think that is very neighborly. And I think that's some kind words that we can say to each other. We're separated by the Strait of Bering, though there are 2 islands only between the Russian island and the U.S. island. They're only 4 kilometers apart. We're close neighbors, and it's a fact. It's also important that Alaska has to do with our common heritage, common history between Russia and the U.S., and many positive events have to do with that territory. Still, there is tremendous cultural heritage back from the Russian America. For example, Orthodox churches and a lot of more than 700 geographical names of Russian origin. During the Second World War, it was here in Alaska that was the origin of the legendary air bridge for the supply of military aircraft and other equipment under the Lend-Lease program. It was a dangerous and treacherous route over the vast emptiness of ice. However, the pilots of both countries did everything to bring closer the victory. They risked their lives and they gave it all for the common victory. Was the situation around Ukraine? We see the strive of the administration and President Trump personally to help facilitate the resolution of the Ukrainian conflict, and his strive to get to the crux of the matter to understand this history is precious. As I've said, the situation in Ukraine has to do with fundamental threats to our security. Moreover, we've always considered the Ukrainian nation, and I've said it multiple times, a brotherly nation. However strange it may sound in these conditions, we have the same roots, and everything that's happening is a tragedy for us and terrible wound. Therefore, the country is sincerely interested in putting an end to it. At the same time, we're convinced that in order to make the settlement lasting and long term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of that conflict. And we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate a just balance of security in Europe and in the world on the whole. And I agree with President Trump, as he has said today, that naturally the security of Ukraine should be ensured as well. Naturally, we are prepared to work on that. I would like to hope that the agreement that we've reached together will help us bring closer that goal and will pave the path towards peace in Ukraine. We expect that Kiev and European capitals will perceive that constructively and that they won't throw a wrench in the works. They will not make any attempts to use some backroom dealings to conduct provocations to torpedo the nascent program.
এরপরে ট্রাম্প বলেন, ভ্লাদিমির পুতিনের সঙ্গে আমার খুব ভালো সম্পর্ক, অনেক বিষয়ে আলোচনা হয়েছে, আমাদের একটি অত্যন্ত ফলপ্রসূ বৈঠক হয়েছে, অনেক বিষয় একমত হয়েছি, আমরা এখনো যুদ্ধ স্থগিতের সিদ্ধান্তে পৌঁছতে পারিনি, তবে আমাদের এখানে পৌঁছানো খুব ভালো সম্ভাবনা রয়েছে। কি বলছেন ডোনাল্ড ট্রাম্প, শুনবো।
Great progress today. I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax. It made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all, but we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax, but what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with. But we'll have a good chance when this is over. So just to put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there. I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team, whose faces, who I know in many cases, other than that, whose faces I get to see all the time in the newspapers. You're almost as famous as the boss, but especially this one right over here. But we had some good meetings over the years, right? Good productive meetings over the years, and we hope to have that in the future. But let's do the most productive one right now. We're going to stop really 5, 6, 7,000, thousands of people a week from being killed, and President Putin wants to see that as much as I do. So, again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
সঙ্গে রাখুন আজ তাক বাংলার ইউটিউব চ্যানেলকে। অন্যান্য খবরের জন্য লাইক, কমেন্ট, শেয়ার, সাবস্ক্রাইব করতে ভুলবেন না।